Hello and welcome back to the When You're Podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're talking about when you're watching National Treasure, Book of Secrets. That's right, the sequel to National Treasure. Now listen, I said it before on when I was talking about the first National Treasure. I watched this movie first. I didn't know there was like a second one. I mean, if they had put National Treasure 2 on the title, then maybe I would have been like, oh, okay. But I was a kid, I didn't know any better. I thought, it was just like a one series, a one movie thing, you know what I mean? With some backstory that I wasn't aware of. So, how was I supposed to know there was like, they had stolen the Constitution and that, Nick Cage and Abigail, Ben and Abigail had broken up and they were splitting up the house or whatnot. Like, it was just, I didn't know these things. I didn't know there was like a relationship there, but they do such a good job of just like making it kind of whatever, you know what I mean? They kind of just do a good job of like blending it all so you don't feel like you missed anything on the first one. So at least, I guess at the end of the day, I saw this movie first. I didn't know there was a first one. So I guess I kind of was just like, this is just the movie. Whereas I guess if you want to look at it like in order, I did miss out on a good chunk of story. But hey, they do a great job anyways. So first things first. The story starts off with Ben not even Ben. It's like a flashback to where Ben's grandfather, Thomas Gates, is that who it is? Or maybe it's Thomas Gates' father, so his great-great-grandfather? I don't know how many grandfathers it was, but it was some sort of great-grandfather of sorts, right? Back to the Civil War era. So all the way back there, they show... It's essentially the killing of Abraham Lincoln. They show that whole kind of thing to like show you the history of like the person who killed Abraham Lincoln, what that whole thing represented, and then Ben Gates's ancestry, how they were all involved in the death of Abraham Lincoln and like the freedom that we've all come to know today. So it's just kind of like a whole history thing, right? So it's a historical fiction. Thomas Gates is a famous, not a famous, but he's just like some sort of puzzle guy. I forget exactly what his profession is, but anyways, he is essentially big on solving puzzles and figuring out like essentially what Ben does now, which is like he knows history, he knows how to solve clues, how to solve ciphers, and so on and so forth. So we learned that Thomas Gates dies, right, in front of his son, and he kind of tells him the clue. He tells him the final clue. He tells him what it was that he was solving for the bad people, I guess. And there was this diary that he kind of ripped a page out of that was like the key, the cipher, the missing piece, the key to solving the map to the treasure map, to find the treasure. So he throws it in the fire and somebody like grabs a page out from the fire, but another page is completely burned. And it's introduced through like a seminar or kind of like a historical meeting or like, a seminar, like a, what's it called? Not a meeting. It's like a lecture, a historical lecture on their findings and clearing the Gates family name and so on and so forth. And some guy comes along, Wilkinson, and he shows the missing diary page. He's like, hello, here it is. I got it. It's right here. And this proves that Thomas Gates is a bad person. He's not the saint that you guys have thought he was. He's actually a lot worse. And so that's kind of like, oh, snap. What? So now it's not only a hunt for the treasure or like to find the treasure or whatever. It's to clear the Gates family name. Because they tried to make it seem like Wilkinson tries to make it seem that the Gates were involved in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, which is not true, at least from what we know or what we've been told. So it's the hunt for the treasure, and the hunt for the treasure needs a team. Like any good stuff, it needs a team. So obviously he has his dad in recruitment and wait, and then he also gets Riley. He gets his good buddy Riley. So one of the things that has to happen in this story is Ben needs something from his house. Unfortunately, Abigail has kicked him out, and they're broken up, and she's kind of like dating people, which is also like, ew, but whatever. And the guy she's dating is the greatest guy in the world, but like, the movie tries to make you hate him, but like, I just feel like he deserves a lot better. And yeah, Abigail kind of does him dirty. And Ben, like, they just kind of use him. It's Ty Burrell. Ty Burrell, man. Love that guy. Great actor, great dude. Overall, solid guy. But in this movie, obviously, they knock him down. But anyways, he has to break into his home to get some sort of thing. I forget what it is. He has to get some sort of thing so that way he can solve another clue to another puzzle or do some more other... He has to look at some letter. Yes. He has to break into his house so he can get like a security tag or like some sort of whatever so he can look at the do-good letters. And by looking at the do-good letters, it'll prove a cipher or some sort of code that'll take him to another thing of the map. Supposedly. I don't remember per se or exactly what it is. But he breaks into his house. He gets caught by his his ex. He gets caught by Abigail. So does Riley, because Riley helps him break in. So he helps him break in, and essentially he's like, Abigail, I need those letters. And she's like, all right, well, guess what? I've looked through it a dozen times, okay? There's nothing on here. And then, like all good things, there's something on there that they weren't looking at. And they find it. They find a cipher on the back of the letters. And they just kind of go like, oh my gosh, what is the cipher? So now it's up to the great sleuths to figure out, all right, what's the next? What is it trying to tell us? What is it trying to say to us? What is it speaking out to us? Where is it taking us? And they figure out the cipher is like a code. It's a one word, I think, and it turns out it's Laboulaye Lady, and they're just like, oh snap, Laboulaye Lady, and they're like, it's the no, I almost said this. Is it? No, yeah, it's the Statue of Liberty. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking about the I don't know why I thought the Eiffel Tower for a second. I was like, what? No, Statue of Liberty. It's the Statue of Liberty. And that's Laboulaye Lady. So Laboulaye Lady is the next clue. And they have 3 places to check. There's a Statue of Liberty in Las Vegas, New York, and Paris, France. And they're like, Paris, France, here we go. So what they have to figure out is somewhere on the statue or a part of the statue or closely related to the statue. It has something to do with the statue. So Riley does what he does best, and he pulls out his drone and he starts flying it out there with his tech know-how. And he gets some images of the Statue of Liberty and primarily the text, the plaque, the book or whatever she's holding. And on there, it has some phrase on there that is supposed to be a clue to the next clue for the treasure map. And that will tell them what they kind of need. And the police show up and they go like, "What are you guys doing over here?" And then Ben tries to charm them with some history know-how. He's just like, "Yeah, you guys, we're friends, we're good people, we're together." So, from looking at the Statue of Liberty, they get the police officers to decode the French writing on the I don't it's just like the book, the tablet, whatever she's holding in her hand, right? Not the torch. Anyways, they get them to translate it, and then they give Riley a ticket for flying his drone or whatever. But they give them the saying, and Ben deciphers it into meaning resolute twins, resolute desks. And that's where the next clue is, the resolute desks. Now, there's 2 of those desks in the world. One is in London, the Queen's desk, and another is in the President of the United States desk. So you can imagine the gravity of this situation. They have to go to 2 very restricted spaces and try to learn, try to figure out some treasure map from it. So they have to figure out, all right, what do we do now? What exactly is the next step? So they have to break into Buckingham Palace. And Ben goes in there solo, but he gets interrupted by somebody, namely Abigail, who shows up in London looking for Ben. Then they get into this huge fake argument, and it leads them into jail, which Riley breaks them out of, and then they can go looking for the resolute desk. So they only have like a limited amount of time before the police notice they're gone and shuts the whole place down. So now they're going up there and they're trying to figure out what do they do with the desk? What does the desk mean? And they figure out that the maker of the desks was into Chinese puzzle boxes, and that when you slide out the drawers of the desk, it's kind of like a lock. It's kind of like there are numbers on the inside of it, and each one unlocks another piece of the desk, which I thought was brilliant. I was like, that is so genius. That's so cool that they put that in. I don't know how, realistic that is. Probably not, but like, I really enjoyed that part of it. I was just like, ooh, that's so cool. So at the end of it, they find a board on the side of the desk, and it's really cool. And then what ensues next? A chase for the board. So Ben is not the only one looking for this. All right, Wilkinson is also looking for this treasure so that way he can clear his family name, because I think he's the direct lineage of the person who shot Abraham Lincoln. So he's like a descendant of his, and because he's a descendant of his, this could maybe like clear their legacy, their name, by giving back the people some part of history. But anyways, they get into a chase in London, and they realize, Ben realizes that the only way to get them off their butts is to get rid of the, get rid of the board, essentially, which is terrible, but he has no choice. So he tosses it. Well, before he tosses it, he runs a red light so that way the security camera will take a picture of it, and then from there, they can get the pictures, and that way they have something that's able to be looked at. Because they don't just need the board, they need somebody to decipher the board, because it's kind of written in a native language. So they go toss the board, the bad guys get the board, and now they have to get pictures of the board that they took while they ran the red light. And from there, they need to get it translated. And there's only one person who can translate it. And Ben and his father are not too happy. It's Ben's mother and his dad's ex-wife. She's the only one who can translate it and kind of give them the clue that they need to figure out what's next. But there's a problem. They only have half of a board. They only have one piece of it. They need the other piece in order to figure it out. So they have to go to the White House. They have to go to the White House. Not only do they have to go to the White House, they need to go into the Oval Office, the president's desk, and do the same thing that they did with the Queen's desk, which is the puzzle box. They have to unlock it and then find the board. So that's what's up next. And who gets them in? Ty Burrell's character. I forget his name in this, but he gets them in there somehow because he's the White House office curator or something. He gets them in there during Easter Sunday. There's like an Easter party of sorts where they have like people on the front on the lawn and whatnot. So in order to stall for time, Abigail makes out with Ty Burrell, which is like, yo, he deserves that at least, right? He deserves a little something. So happy for him for that. And they figure out that the board's not there. They're like, oh snap, there's something not there. So he takes a picture of where the board's supposed to be, and they're at a dead end. And Riley he wrote a book since the last movie. So in between the first movie and the second movie, he wrote a book about history, myths, conspiracy theories. He writes about it all. And in there, one of the conspiracies was about the president's book. And in the president's book, he has all of the information, all of the knowledge from past presidents, including what would be in the president's desk. So Ben has one choice. He has to get the president to tell him where the board is so he can get the other piece to the puzzle, to the other key to the clue, and thus it'll lead them to the treasure. So because of that, Ben has to, one way or another, Ben has to kidnap the president. And when I say kidnap, I don't mean like he puts a gun in his face and he just drags him away. I mean like he gets his birthday pushed to Mount Vernon, where it has like some sort of cave or historical castle thing or whatever, right? It's like a confined space where they can both be trapped in. And there, he technically kidnaps the president. He technically doesn't. It's a little foggy, but he utilizes that time to ask the president about the president's book and about the board in the desk. And the president, being a good dude, tells him, yes, there is a book. And not only is there a book, it's in the Library of Congress. And you're going to need to know these codes, and good luck. And Ben's like, thank you so much. So now it's off to the Library of Congress. And they have to go quickly here because they're being chased by the FBI now because Ben kidnapped the president, so to speak. So, you know, he's in big trouble here. So they go to the Library of Congress and they find the book, and they have like all of these historical things in there that they can't really look at because they're pressed for time. They just have to find the picture to the board. And they figure out that they destroyed the board after they found it. They took a picture of it, thank goodness, and they take a picture of it, and then they go away. But Ben has one thing to look at, and that's page 47. The president told him to take a look at page 47. And Ben was like, okay, I'll take a look. So he takes a look at page 47 and then off he goes, off he runs. He gets he sends the picture of the other half of the board to his father, and his dad has to go to his ex-wife, and she can translate the rest of the code. And there's like a little difficult moment between them because Wilkinson gets to her first. And because he gets to her first, she's in a bit of danger. He could really hurt the both of them if they don't cooperate and give him what he wants, which is the clue, the key to the next step. So she gives him the code. Ben's dad, she gives him the code. And because she gives him the code, they figure out that essentially they figure out that the treasure, or the city of gold, so to speak, is near or at Mount Rushmore. So now they have to go to Mount Rushmore, but they don't just go to Mount Rushmore. It's not like, oh, happy, happy, happy. They go to Mount Rushmore and they're met with trouble. Ben's parents, or at least his mom, has been taken hostage by Wilkinson. She's held at gunpoint by him, and you know, they do the stereotypical thing where it's like, if you don't do what I want, I will kill them. And they're just like, all right, fine, we'll go together, we'll figure it out together. And they get put into compromising situations all the time like that. So essentially, they have to find an opening inside Mount Rushmore, and that opening will lead them to the treasure, to the city of gold. And it's just problem after problem after problem. It's really old in there, so some things happen where they get closed off, and there's only one way out to get through, and that's to find another exit or entrance, right? So then they go rushing in, and they get separated one way or another. And there's some really cool bits about this. There's some really nice stuff. So in the first movie, they had like those stairs, or that kind of place where it was all rickety and they could fall at any moment. But in this one, there's like, they have to balance, they have to work together, they have to jump, they have to climb, they have to do all of these things as a team. And with that comes a lot of danger and high intensity, and I really loved it. I thought it was such a brilliant way to increase the tension of the moment and to make it like high risk. And then they find it. They find the city of gold. And I have to say, these payoffs, these historical treasures and payoffs, they are so satisfying. They really, you know what it is? It's just like, you really wish that when you find treasure, it's like a lot of treasure. And this is a city of gold. So they really did well with the set pieces here. I mean, it looks so good. It's so cool to see them discover this thing, right? So anyways, they find the lost city of gold, but now they have to get out. They have to show the world. They have to, I don't know, they just have to be a part of it, right? They gotta get out of there so that way they can tell people where it is, how to find it, and so on and so forth. And they figure out that like the water exits through a current, but in order to keep it open, or like to keep them from drowning inside of there, they have to close off the water, like the water coming in, so that way they can walk out. But the pressure from the water makes it really difficult for them to escape. So essentially what that means is they're in a last final moment of, they could drown if they don't like keep the the door open so that way they can escape. But Wilkinson makes it difficult, like always, because he doesn't want to die. But given certain circumstances, he ends up being the one left behind and dying. So suck on that, Wilkinson. But yeah, they find it. They all escape with their lives intact. Wilkinson dies. And then they get praised for their discovery. The president meets with Ben and his team again. And he's like, he didn't kidnap me. This guy saved me from being locked in some place. And then he kind of tells him, hey, listen, man, did you take a look at that page 47? And Ben's like, I did. He's like, what do you think? He's like, I definitely think I can help with that. And that just means that there's another treasure out there that needs to be discovered. But guess what, dude? Guess what? There's not a third movie. They haven't come out with a third movie. I mean, how dare they? How dare they not come out with a third? And Nick Cage is down for it. So overall, this movie has time and time again been it's just such a good way to do historical fiction. Like, they really get you invested in history when they do movies like this. I don't care how historically accurate it is. I just like the adventure, the treasure, and the historical knowledge that it takes to be as good or as quick as they are to get to the next step. You know, because they're only as good as the clues that they get and the knowledge that they know to decipher and learn and to figure out the next step. That's how they're able to do it so quickly. You know, for other people, it might take days, weeks, months to figure out clues, to gain the knowledge and, like, you know, look through, like, historical books and texts just to figure it all out. But for them, they all got it. They all got it. It's also a movie, so, you know, but at the end of the day, when you're watching National Treasure Book of Secrets, just, you know what it is? Be excited about the big payoff, but also think to yourself, like, when you're watching it, when you're there, just kind of imagine if your family was disgraced by killing one of the most famous presidents in the whole wide world, and you get a chance to clear their name, your family's legacy, and you get to kidnap the president. You get to find a whole city of gold, right? Like, isn't that great? So, and also be a little mad at Disney for not making a third movie, a third National Treasure. Like, can we all be mad about that? Can we get something going where they do the third one? Like, I want it. You know, the world needs it. So, anyways, that's National Treasure Book of Secrets. Great movie. Definitely a number one for me. You know, I definitely think I'm not going to say it's better than the first one. No, I will say it's better than the first one. Because the first one, Abigail really annoyed me. Because, like, first they have to, like, get to know each other. And they have to, like, argue all the time. And the second one, it's like there's already an established relationship. And the arguments aren't so much real as they are. They're sort of real, but they're fake. So that way they can get to the next step. And everybody's already, like, established. There's no, like, annoyance other than, like, the bad guys. Whereas in the first movie, it was just really annoying. You know what I mean? But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.